This is a picture of the AirlineTickets project user interface, as well as the naming scheme that will be used for all of the widgets that are on the screen. You're going to have a piece of paper in front of you, but I just added this so you get a look at it. Two things have happened at this point. You've completed your Hello World project. You've also seen a demonstration of the working in point of the airplane project. So now, just as we did for the Hello World project, let's go up and click on New Project. And we're going to make this a Windows form, just like we did before. And we're going to change the name to Basketball Ticket. And we're going to click on OK. Takes a while for it to load. The form you see here, and it's called Form 1 right now, this will be the container for your application. That is, it will hold all of the objects, buttons and labels and text boxes that will allow you to execute your options. I want you to make this just a little bit bigger. Okay, that should do it. Now, you have a sheet of paper in front of you. This paper contains the layout. What you will notice is, well, you may not quite notice it yet, but you have one picture box where the airplane is shown there, and that will be to hold the airplane. You have 5 labels, 3 buttons, and a text box. Now I'm going to pause this video for a second, and then we're going to go over the items that are on the sheet you have, and then we'll start adding them to the application. Okay, you've had a little time to digest the layout that's in front of you, so let's go over to the toolbox and start adding some of these items. So just to keep it synced pretty good, and it looks like Windows is doing some work for me, which I really don't want to wait for. Okay, Windows has completed its work, so I'm going to go back to the toolbox again, and I'm going to add 3 buttons. And I slide the cursor down to where buttons is, and I add 1 button, put it roughly into place where it looks like it goes on the layout. Don't want to do too much with it. Go back to the toolbox, get another button, and I've got that one lined up fairly well. And then I'm going to go to the toolbox again and get my 3rd button. These objects are in alphabetical order, so if you get out of sync, just go back to the top. I've got my buttons. Looks like they're a little off, so I'm going to adjust them so that they're roughly in the right position. Doesn't have to be perfect at this time. We can do all of this work on the last tune-up. So now I know I need, as I said before, 5 labels. Go back to the toolbox, and I'll scroll down to where the labels are. I know I need 1 label up here, and toolbox. I need another label right there, roughly below it. And I'll go to the toolbox again. And I need, I'll put it right here first, and then I'll drag it over. Label roughly here. Not done with the labels. This label goes, let's bring it down a little bit more, about here. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect positioning yet. Let's just get them all on the sheet. I have one more that I'll put in this spot. So I go to Toolbox, and I'll go to Label, drag it over, and it should line up here. And it looks like I actually need one more. Now this label is actually going to hold my total. I'll move this up a little bit. I think I got too many labels, so let me take off this 6th label. All right, now I think I'm good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 labels. Then I said that I needed a text box. So I go to Toolbox, and text box starts with a T, so it's pretty far down. A text box is a control that will let me do more things than I can do with the label. They're close, they're cousins, but there's some differences. I have one more label or one more object to add. I go to Toolbox again, and I mention picture. I need something to hold the picture. And that image to hold the picture is called the picture box. So scroll down, it's in alphabetical order again. Picture box. So I move my cursor over. I know I want the picture box roughly here. So I put it on the screen, and it's not real precise because I still have to add the picture, but I'll just kind of rough it in. On the screen, you have all of your objects now. Now, one thing you should notice is that you notice on your sheet, you see nothing about label 1 or label 3 or label 2. Those are actual labels that give information to the user of the application. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change these names to the ones that are shown on your layout. There are 2 names for each object. One is the name that the user sees on the screen, and the second one is the name that the program knows the particular widget. So let's start with button 1. If I click on button 1, I bring up the properties for button 1. First thing I see is here's the text for button 1. I know I don't want that text to be called button 1. I want it to be called display costs. So I'm going to type in DISPLAYCOST. And if I click back on my screen, I see that it has costs. I need to adjust a little bit because it doesn't display everything. Now that I've changed the display, I also want to change the actual name that the program will reference the button by. And if I scroll down a little bit, I see the name. Again, this is the name that the program is going to refer to the button. And I want to change that name. And you see the name on your sheet. It's going to be lowercase btn and then display and then cost. And when a program is looking at that, it gives the program an idea of what this button does. So you give it a name that's representative. The BTN refers to the fact that it's a button, and display costs gives you a better idea of what that button is going to be what it's going to be used for. If you click it, it's going to cause something to happen associated with displaying costs. Our next button shown here looks like button 2. So I'm going to click on button 2, and since it takes me right over to the name, I look at my sheet, I know that's not called button 2, but it's called BTN Clear. And what it does is it clears the screen. Now I'm going to go up to where I see the text part of it, which is going to change it to what will be seen on the user by the user on the display. So instead of button 1, it's going to be just called clear. And so I have now taken care of that button. I will change the size a little bit so it's close to the other one. Now I go to BTN3. The text, or what will be seen by the user, will be exit. And what exit means, if you click on the exit button, the program will stop running. And the name of it, of course, will be BTN EXIT. So we've named that display. Now let's change our labels. What I'm going to do here is I'm only going to change one label, and then I'm going to speed things up, and I'll change all of them, and then we'll move ahead to the next step. So I click on label, same way I clicked on the button, and I have a name for that first label, and that's the one at the very top, and it should say airline tickets. Now the name should be LBL Airline TIC. I spoke wrong. LBL, which means that it's a label, AIRLINETIC. And then I'm going to change the text. And you can see that the text says airline tickets. And I'm going to move it a little bit over. And you'll notice on your sheet that the text is bigger. So what I'm going to do is go up to font, and I'm going to make the size, I'll start and I'll just try 14. See how that looks. Okay, 14 looks pretty good. Ooh. Let's go back to design. I think I like that size. And so I've got that label changed. go over it again. I've got the text, which is the name of it, is Airline Tickets, as you can see. And the name is LBL Airline Tick. Now you're going to do the same thing for all of the other labels, but I'm going to jump ahead, and then I'm going to change them all, and then I'll come back and proceed from there, because it's repetition. Okay, now we've got all of our objects on the screen. Still have a few more things to do, but these have all been named. And so the next thing we want to do is, we have one text box here, and we don't have to put any labeling in it, but we have to give it a name because it is something that the program refers to. So we select on the text box, and then we go down and look at the name. And the name it shows is text box 1, which is generic, and that won't work. So we're going to call it TXT number tickets. TXT says it's a text box. Number tickets gives its function, and what it does is holds the number of tickets. All right, so we've got that. Now, on this form, we also have a name for the form. If we look at the form that we see on the layout, it says airline tickets. This says form 1. So I click on the form, and I go down to the name, and I'm going to change this form 1 to tickets. And when I click again, okay, I did something wrong. Oh, I know what. That's not what I wanted to do. In the case of this form, I just want to change the text. I don't want to change the name. So there's a text. And I'm going to type in AirlineTickets. And there it is. So we've got the text box, got all of the items. Okay, now I'm going to do something a little bit tricky. You notice on your sheet that the background for this app is black, and yet the text is black also. So I'm going to go ahead and carefully change it to black. What I have to kind of remember, though, is where all of these labels and buttons are. Buttons are not going to be as much of a problem, but the labels, you're going to need to remember a little bit about where they are. So I'm going to click on the back control color, and I'm going to select Action Caption Tech. Notice that it goes totally black. Now, I see here that was my first text box, and what I'm going to want to do is go in there and change the foreground color to something lighter. And I think I'll change it to, well, let's click on it first. I'm going to change it to button highlight, and it shows up much better. I know I have another text box just below it, and I want to do the same thing. Change it to button highlight. And I know I have one over here, so let's click. Actually, I can move when I see the cross there. I know the text is there. And I click on for color, and I drop down and button highlight again. And I know I have two text boxes below that, and one's there. Button highlight. And then I have another one here. And same thing. Button highlight. Now I have my buttons, which I want to change to kind of a violet color. So I'll select the first button, and then let's look at the back, or the back color. And see what we got. Nothing on that one. You can go over to web, and I see some violet colors. Let's see. I'm gonna go with the dark violet. So I've changed the first one to dark violet. I'll click on the second one, and I'll change it to dark violet. And I go to the third one, and I click on it. Dark violet. Now I'm going to go back and change the text to white or something lighter. And remember, that will be the 4 color. So I click on that, and let's look at the colors. I said white, but I'm thinking about maybe some sort of a yellow color if I see something that looks good. Oh, that looks good. Yellow. So let's change the text for the others to yellow. That color, 4 color. Okay, so it looks like I have it decorated pretty good. So the next thing I need to do is go ahead and put my airplane in here. I need to add the image, but I also forgot to do one other thing. I forgot to add the name of the picture box. And similar to all the other widgets, I'll start it out with PIC and airplane, which is what will be inside the picture box. Okay, next thing I want to do is you have that picture on your desktop now, so select the picture box and right click your mouse, and then click on the link that says choose image, and we want to local resource, import, and it opens up the dialog box, and where you want to get to is your desktop. And on the desktop someplace I have airplane. There it is. Click OK, open, and then click OK, and I now have my plane. But you'll notice the airplane looks kind of out of whack because you only see the tail section. And what you need to do is make an adjustment to the size mode so that Visual Basic will Let's try auto size. Now we don't want to do that. So edit, I'm going to do undo, and then I'll go back over here again, and I'll try stretch image. And then stretch image adjusts the picture to the size of the box. Now I could change the size of the box if I wanted to, but I think I'll just leave it like this for right now. Now, for purposes of this video, I'm going to show you how to put the code in for one form or one button. I'm going to do that manually, and then with the code that you have on the paper you have in front of you, we're going to go through how you put the code in to get the rest of the app working. Now, in the earlier demo, you saw what's supposed to happen, but let's go ahead and just do the exit key, which is the easy one. You see I click it, it opens me up into a section which is where the code will go to cause the applications to stop once I click that button. So it says sub button exit, click, and then it says end. Now, this piece of code, me.close, is all I need for the application to exit. So I'll go back to the form, and I'm going to go into debug mode, which will show the application executing. Debug. Any day now. Let me click it again. Start debugging. Okay, it's building it. There it is. And I'll click the exit button. And sure enough, it stops. Okay. This will be the end of the video portion, and we will walk through getting the remainder of the code into the application and test it. And you're all going to go at a different pace, and I will walk around and help you fix issues. Once you get this working, of course, we're going to make some additional changes to it. So for now, let's just get to work on the rest of it.